Hi everyone, it's me, Laliet, and I'm super happy to be back with another video today, and it's gonna be a breakthrough video for my recent piece, which you can see on your screen right now. And before we start, I must say that September is kinda busy, and I really wanna share like my feelings, because when you have a lot of busy days, it's really, you start to really like admire time when you can just sit and make another like a passion video, like do something really art related, even though everything I do is art related, but sometimes you just want to focus on yourselves. And when I do these explanations, I basically learn a lot of things myself, even though it sounds weird, but that's how it is. And yeah, this work is done in Blender, and I'm gonna show you today how I approached the process and everything that I know about Blender at the moment. And basically, if you're the one who use Cinema 4D, you can still go through this whole process, like through this video, and learn how I made it, because even though I kinda try new software, everything I do stays the same. So I still using DAZ characters, and I still do most of my sculpts inside ZBrush. And software like Cinema 4D or Blender is mostly a compositing software for me, where I combine everything together. But recently I've been noticing that Blender receives a lot of cool updates, and there's a big community around Blender, and a lot of people that do, for example, shaders and do cool things. And I feel like there is, even though the Blender is completely free, there is a lot of things you can buy to enhance your user experience, and that's what's cool about it. So yeah, I'm super happy once again that I'm doing it, but yeah, let's start. Let me first show you my DAZ scene. As always, I'm using my custom character, which is basically a combination of a lot of different characters and some like custom ZBrush tweaks. But basically it doesn't really matter. What matters is the pose that you manually set up inside DAZ. And then I have like hairs, and I believe that since I'm doing this Blender video, a lot of people here now just for Blender, and I must say that even though you see DAZ here, but yeah, it is a free software as well as Blender. So if you want, I can make like a complete tutorial on my process of creating characters inside DAZ. I already have that video, but maybe there are some people who are interested in like my posing approach and my like, I don't know, navigation that I use and all that, maybe. So yeah, let me know. And basically once you have your character set it up, you just go as usual, file, export, and I'm choosing Wavefront OBJ, and then I type whatever name I want, and I press save. And what's important is, first of all, make sure you set these parameters up. I'm not sure what they do, most of them, but this is the checkboxes that always work for me, so I recommend you do the same thing. What is important here is that if you watched my previous tutorials, if you like a Cinema 4D user, you know that scale can be 100%, and then it kind of automatically transforms into real size human, real height human. But for Blender, I find that, I don't know why, I'm still not sure about a lot of things in Blender, but at the moment I understood that 100% is gonna create a giant inside Blender. So perfectly you wanna go for 1, but for me like 2% sounds the best, because 1 is kinda clunky for me in Blender. Everything is super small. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but scale for 2% is perfect for me. and then you just press accept. And one more important thing is that if you go with scale 1, you will need to use like super small subsurface scattering numbers, so I would not recommend you to do that. So you have 2%, then you press accept, you have your file, then you can go to Blender and let's create new file. Actually, let's create new general and let's don't save this project. And then I'm gonna delete like the basic light and a cube. Gonna press X to delete, and then I'm gonna go to import. So again, let's select the pose character, and let's see what's gonna happen. It will take a moment, but now as you can see, we have our character in a right scale for Blender. If you press 0, you can go into camera view mode, which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna select like camera to view, move around. I'm sorry if I'm doing it fast, but this is like a basic Blender. It's like a basic moving around things that you must know. And if you want, I can do video for that, but it like takes like 10 to 15 minutes to practice, and then you're good to go. Okay, so basically now we have our character split it into parts, and let's create a new collection. Inside this collection we can call it scene, and we can put our camera inside there, and this one will be called figure, and obviously there is our figure inside it. Okay, and the same thing that I've done inside Cinema 4D, I do merge face, lips, and basically you can find everything here like it's face. It will not be face 001, sorry for that, it's just because this is the second model I imported here, but it will be just face. And here you can see a lot of different things, but what I would recommend is to find face, then lips, then ears. You can press here on the 3D viewport or here in the outliner, it just what you prefer. And what else? Oh, eye socket. So those things are in the same UV layout. So basically it's just one texture and split it into parts. So that's why I like to merge it right away, because this way I don't need to be worried, and then I can just call it face, and basically we're good to go. And for you might not have your hairs like brows as an object, it can be just a texture, because I have it inside DAZ right here, and basically it's all just things you buy inside DAZ. As I've said, it's a free software, but you can buy a lot of things to use in it, and these are like I don't know, $10 bros. It's a whole pack, and you can use it on your characters. I like them and I use them all the time. Okay, what I can do is add another workspace here, and let's start creating our shaders. So once you have your head merged, here you have all the things you don't need actually. So you can just press minus on every one of those materials, and then you just create new one. I'm gonna do material for the head, and basically once I'll be done with it, you can just repeat everything I'll do. And then you can just apply this same material to your torso and arms, and then basically just change the textures from, for example, yeah, as you can see here, it's arms for diffuse, here is torso for diffuse, and all that. Okay, so now we have a material, let's call it skin, or what I like to do, you can basically just call it face, but what I like to do is call it face shader. Okay, so you obviously already have it, but the principal BSDF, and it's gonna be automatically connected to surface. But let's start with it. So let me activate actually cycles, You just go here to cycles, GPU, but you probably already know that. Let's do some lights. I'm gonna go and select sun. And sun in Blender, it's kind of cool thing. Let me see. Okay. Let me enter the camera, and then I'm gonna go here and select 180, 1350, and then I'm gonna go to camera to view, and then I want to go inside camera and select focal length, something like 100. Let's move a bit closer, just like that. Let's go out of camera to view. And what I like to do also is go in here and press render region, which basically crops everything, and then I'm gonna disable overlays because I don't need it, because I'm just doing shaders. And what I can also do is make it closer to the face, since we basically doing shader for face. Okay, let's go to world, object world. Let's create environment texture, and inside we're gonna press it, put it here, and then I'm gonna create mapping and put vector to vector, and then coordinate here, generated to vector. And this is all basic things, you probably know this, but if not, you can just follow what I do. And then I'm gonna put some HDRIs. Maybe then we don't need the sun, maybe we just can be good with HDRI. Let's move it slightly, and let's make it 0.2 or something. Let's actually activate the sun now. Yeah, we can make angle a bit like this, so shades will not be as hard. And getting back to my skin shader, I'm already have it here. I'm not gonna lie, because some parameters I've kind of set it up like super precisely, so I don't want to lose it, and I'm just gonna repeat the processes I've did, and you can basically repeat what I'm gonna do, and we are gonna create a new skin shader. So first things first, we obviously need to create our albedo, and I'm gonna be using basic desk character texture. And let me say you that when you buy like any characters in DAZ, you will get a range of textures, and sometimes they have a normal map, a displacement map, and bump map. Sometimes they just have normal map and albedos, and it really depends. But I assume that your character have a bump map, which is even more common than normal map, as I've noticed, roughness map, then albedo map. Those three are important. I also gonna connect displacement map, but displacement is kinda a bit more complicated, and I have mine customly sculpted in ZBrush, and I also have a video on that if you really wanna go through this whole hell of a process. But yeah, some characters actually have a displacement maps. I'll try to check which ones, and I'll let you know. But okay, let's first connect our albedo map. So obviously you can just to create any of those. I'm just gonna be duplicating those, but for example, you can just drag and drop it, and you will have your albedo map here. For the albedo map, I don't have anything crazy here. It's just sRGB, and I'm just gonna connect color to base color. And right now we have our albedo map, which looks already cool. Here I also have some hue saturation gamma, which is not important at the moment. And let me also duplicate this one. And this is a hue saturation, but basically just copy my values. So you can just press Shift A and go to search and hue saturation, and you can just copy my value Then you can just connect your color albedo to this color, and here you can just connect this color to subsurface color. And which what it does actually, here I have node preview, which is like from Blender Market node preview, and here as you can see what it creates is like this extremely saturated map, but it actually good for subsurface color, because otherwise you can just select the red color here. It's basically a color that under the skin. So I would recommend doing this because it kind of gives you a better result. So if you just connect it to surface to see, as you can see, it's just our albedo map goes through this huge saturation YU node with those parameters. You can also lower the saturation, it depends on your albedo, but for me this works. So, and then I just connect color to color, and this is what I've said you about like the scale. And for this for the face, I'm gonna go with this parameter, subsurface 0.01, because it's the scale of my object and the world and everything. So 0.01 gives the best result for me with the export settings with 2% from DAS. As you might remember, we did 2% when we were exporting from DAS. And obviously if you do 1%, then you must go like even lower, like 0.001, which for this and this is like a super low parameters, which I don't necessarily like. So 0.01, as you can see, like the nose, it kind of makes look real. You can go higher, you can go 0.02 if you want to go like this stylized picture, but for me 0.01 works the best. Okay, next thing is my specular. I don't have any specular maps, and trust me, you don't need any specular maps, as I've noticed recently. I mean, specular map does something, but here it works great without it. So, and as you can see, if you just slide it to the right, you can go as high as 1, but you can also just type, for example, 2. And this way you can go even higher. So this is my parameter for this, and this is my skin creation for the piece I've made. And there you can see like a stylized shiny skin, but obviously for more like a real result you can go 0.5, and that's enough. Okay, roughness map. I assume you know what roughness map is, but here is how it looks like, mine. And basically black parts will be shiny and white parts will be matte. So you can also connect something like hue saturation. Let me delete this one, sorry. Yeah, let me delete it. And you can also connect it to hue saturation and control the amount of roughness. For example, as you can see here, nose is kind of extremely glossy. But at the moment, I don't want to be really going through this process, because we have also the bump map, which obviously will reduce the amount of glossiness anyways. So let's connect it right away. And I'm gonna go and press Shift A S and type bump. And I'm gonna connect color to high and normal to normal. And as you can see, it creates a crazy amount of bumpiness, but we can lower it down to 0.1, for example, or 0.2. With a hue saturation you can lower or increase the value, and if you lower it, and obviously more face will be shiny, and if you increase it, the less parts will be shiny. So let's do maybe 5. Let's see how it looks. Okay, next thing is clear coat, and for my piece I'm using clear coat of 0.5, as you can see, and IOR the same. And the final thing is gonna be displacement map. And I have my displacement map customly sculpted, as I've said before. And what you need to select here is for the color space, you can select either linear or row. So let's start with linear and see what will it change. So you basically just press Shift A and find your displacement node here. And then you can just connect your color to height again and displacement to displacement. But one important thing to make this whole thing work is you need to go to your material thing here, and then you go down here, and inside settings you need to, here in surface, you need to select not only bump but displacement and bump. And now, as you can see, this horror movie, what we need to do is lower the scale to something like 0.01. And as you can see, it now works. Also, the mid-level is kind of important. So if something doesn't work the way, if you change the scale and it still looks weird, then you might need to consider lowering it to something like 0 or 1. Or staying on 0.5. It depends on your texture. It basically the blackness of your mask. It's kind of tricky to explain the mid-level, so yeah, just play with it. And basically those three parameters will be your key to success, is like 0, 0.5 and 1. For me it's 0.5, and the scale I can go, for example, 0.02. Let's try. We can go closer actually. Maybe 0.05. That will be kind of crazy, I think. Maybe even 0.1. Yeah, as you can see, it already looks kind of not right. So yeah, for me 0.01 works the best in this case. Now we have our skin shader set it up, and basically you can just now save it. What you can do is duplicate it here. For example, if I'm on a face, then you can just press duplicate, and then the previous one you can get back to previous one, and then select something like, I don't know, the torso, and then in torso you can select new one we've made, face shader 001, and then here you select your 001 face shader, which obviously is for the face, but then you can just change all the textures to the torso and arms. Okay, getting back to my project, the breakthrough, as you can see, that's how I made my skin for this character, basically every other part. But as you can see, here's some red going on, and this is basically just me painting it inside Substance Painter, and I'm planning to do a video on that, how to set up a desk character to make it work inside Substance really easily. Let me also show you my shader for the hairs, for the desk hairs. So it's basically just opacity and albedo, but with some hue saturation. I just desaturated it a bit, and I'm also using specular on 2, roughness 0.4. And if you see your hairs like looking all black and kinda weird, then you might consider going to your render settings, and then here in advanced you can open these light paths. And here in transparent, as you can see, it 180 for me, but you can go like 90, it will work the same, but as a default it is on 10. And as you can see, if I put it on 10, hairs doesn't look right. So yeah, you must go higher than that. For example 90, or in my case I'm going 180, and it looks cool for me. And the rest of it, let me show you the scene setup. So again, I just have my plane set it up, and it's just a plane with white, pure white color on it. Let me also bring you through the shader for this glass, and it's basically just a transmission to 1, specular to 1, nothing else, roughness to 0, and it's a white color, not like completely white, but default white, I believe. And for the chrome, I have scratches like a bump nodes going on, but it doesn't really do anything this much. But as you can see, you can just copy those parameters. It just texture coordinate object this time goes to vector, because I don't have a UVs for them, so that's why I'm using object to vector, and the mapping goes to vector as well. And here I have my dust and scratches PNG, which is have now blend to 0.2. By default it's flat, and then you just select box, blend to 0.2. Color space sRGB, but you can also select non-color, I believe. Let me try. Yeah, it all's the same. And then it goes to bump to height. It's 0.04 on strength. Normal goes to normal, and that's it. I'm not really sure if you can even see it here, so I assume you can. It will work without any bumps anyways. So yeah, I just metallic to 0.5, specular to 1, and roughness to 0.082. That's basically my shaders for the glass and metal. And I have this wall here. I have HDRI. This is like my usual workflow. I just select like neutral HDRI just to have some reflections, and then I set it to 0.1, and the rest of it is just scene lights. I have some backlight, I have some front light, I have my sun goes like straight to the model, and then I have light on top like a studio classic one. Then I have one, as I've said, like a counter light, and this one is a small light. I'm not sure what it does, but I believe it just does some highlights on the eyes. But yeah, that's basically it. My render settings are GPU with cycles. I usually go for 1024, but you can go with 520, 12. And I also use this denoise, and actually denoise in Blender is kind of cool, because this open image denoiser does an amazing job actually. So I'm using this open image denoiser, and I also using a render passes in Blender. You just select it here, then you just can go to passes. In here you can select all the passes you ever wanted. And I've selected this combined Z index, object material index, glossy direct, glossy indirect, ambient occlusion, and creep them out. I've just tried, but for me object works better. Okay, so yeah, these are my render passes. And for those shapes, I'm sorry I didn't mention, but those shapes are customly sculpted inside ZBrush, and I also have tutorials on it. So you can basically just go check those videos out, and you'll be able to sculpt such things yourself. And on Friday I'm actually releasing my Chrome shapes pack as well. So if you don't want to do it, maybe you can just go check it out on my Gumroad. I will leave all the links soon. Okay, inside compositing tab, as you can see, I've just rendered this picture on like 50 samples, which is low, but it's good enough. Okay, those are my glares. I'm not gonna talk about them just yet. And basically what I have here is just my render layers, and I don't do a lot of compositing in Blender. I do this still in Photoshop, but how to export the layers out of Blender, it was a trouble for me, so I'm gonna share with you my solution. So basically you can just go and select your image, put it inside viewer, and then you press F11, and here you can just select your viewer node. Everything that you will plug into viewer node you will see here basically. The same thing goes with like gloss direct. You can just put it in viewer and press F11. You can just then go to image, save as, and save this image. And that's what I've done. It feels a bit clunky, but this is my solution. This is the best way I found. And yeah, I've done the same things, same thing for all of this. Basically for all the important ones. For the depth, which is Z depth, as you can see, if you just connect it here, it will look kind of weird. So I also, what I did is I found this map range node. You can just press Shift A, search for this map range. Here's my parameters. You can just copy them, and then if you just select this value and put it into viewer, then as you can see you get a much better result. with your Z-depth, and you can just save it as well. Z-depth is used for compositing your fake depth of field inside Photoshop, basically. And for the glares, as you might know, I really like glare effect, and I'm using those two because one is fog glow and one is this glare. So basically, let me connect this image to viewer, and let's take a look at them both. Let's delete this node. As you can see, the whole image goes black. And why is that? Is because, again, I'm compositing it inside Photoshop, so I need just this post-processed image. The way you can achieve it is by selecting this mix and putting it to 1, and then you will just see the post-process itself. And for the glare, for the fog glow, it just threshold to 1.5, size to 9, which is max, I believe. And then I just save it as well, F11. I just saved it inside Photoshop. I'll show you how my compositing file works. But yeah, here as well, this glare goes. Let's take a look at this glare, which is streaks. And I have streaks to 4. You can just copy these parameters basically, but that's what I end up with. So inside Photoshop, as you can see, I've just manually dragged and dropped every pass here. Okay, so here inside Photoshop, first thing is we have this depth of field file, which I believe made with Z-depth. Yeah, it is. Then we have a gloss with screen and opacity to 27%. Then this glossy level, which adds a bit of highlights all over the image. Then this layer, gloss direct, and it's also on screen, and opacity this time it's 12% because it does quite a lot of highlighting. And then I have my fake shadow, which I drew by selecting this yellow color and basic Photoshop things. Then I just combined it together, and with Camera Raw I've just added a bit of contrast to it. Then I have my post processes, which both of them are on the screen overlay mode, and this one is 70% and this one 70% also. And the whole group is also 70%. And I have some final curves, which is just a basic S curve. I do this all the time just to give it a bit more contrast. And then I have some sharpening on this image, I believe, yeah, and it's on opacity 40%. Basically for me, this image is just a lot of lighting techniques combined, like real world lighting techniques, studio lighting and all that. Lights are really important. I hoped you learned something out of it. That's how I made this artwork inside Blender. If you still have any questions, feel free to ask them. Have a great day or night, and bye.